All right, guys, welcome back to League 365 podcast. I'm your host, Fergo. This is episode 13. I'm joined, as I am every week, by my co-host, Jax. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. How you going?
Good, mate, good. And this week we have a special guest and all Newtown fans, I hope you're tuning in because we have your CEO here and Mr. Stuart McCarthy. Welcome to the podcast.
Fantastic. Episode 13 nonetheless. Hopefully
Yes.
it's a lucky number. But no, thanks for your support, boys. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic.
All right, Stu, we'll kick it off. Just give us a bit of a background on sort of your upbringing and where'd you grow up, sports you play, all that type of stuff.
Oh, well, look, the reality is I can't lay claims to having been born a Newtown supporter,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So growing up, basically around the Ryde area.
Yep.
So had two things that I loved, sporting wise. It was rugby, actually three things. So it was rugby league and rugby union in winter. The union was on the Saturdays with Hunters Hill Rugby Club, and the league was on the Sunday. And then cricket was the other big passion, and it still is. So back then life was simple in terms of choices for sport. So again, I was living in the area, a fourth generation Balmain Tigers supporter.
Mm-hmm.
My godfather was a gentleman by the name of Harry Raven who played 100 games for the Tigers in the late 60s and early 70s. And again, it was like I didn't have a choice in terms of who I supported, but didn't need one. I was a very passionate Tigers boy growing up, and they were good times. Started supporting the game in 1976, and by the through the 80s, the Tigers had a very strong side. So it was good fun.
Yeah, you would have gone through the block of roaches and the bennies.
All of them, yep.
And the heartbreak of the field goal and hit the post.
Oh, yeah. I 89 still obviously jilts me. It's funnily enough, through Newtown I got to meet Steve O'Brien. And again, we've had lots of conversations about, things just weren't meant to be on that particular occasion. But it's funny, looking back, everyone, thinks it's one of the great grand finals, and it was. It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. So you end up at Newtown. How did that all come about? You obviously moved into the area.
Yeah, so kind of supported the merger in 2000. It was a necessary evil. The Tigers kind of just didn't have the wherewithal to stand on their own, so gave that a year. But in 2000, actually, Balmain still had the reserve grade team. It was the first division back then. So a mate and I used to go and watch all the games. And funnily enough, they were playing Newtown towards the end of the season, and Newtown were with the Warriors that year, which was an interesting partnership. But they were kind of on the cusp of making the 8, and the game was at Leichhardt Oval, and Jason Bell, we didn't know whether he was going to turn out for Newtown or not, and a fair player, and he did, and he carved us up. But there was we were in the Keith Barnes stand, and there was a group of about 10 Newtown supporters at the game, and they were absolutely mad. They made the noise of about 100 people, and I remember saying to my mate, I said, these guys are crazy. I'm digging that. And then at the end of the year, moved into Alexandria. So I wanted a local team to support as well. And being a Balmain supporter, couldn't be south because in 1909 and all of that stuff. And in the end, was meant to go down to Henson Park to watch a game, and the West Tigers were playing at Leichhardt the next day, and I couldn't get a day pass for both games, so it didn't go down, and they actually beat North that day, funnily enough. Went down to Leichhardt the next day, and the score, they were playing Parramatta, who had a fair team that year, and the score at halftime was 36-0. And they said the Tigers were going to be stronger off the field. They'd blown millions of dollars that they got to merge. They were going to be stronger on the field, not quite. So I thought to myself, you know what? I just, my heart's not in this. Next week, went down to Henson Park. Went through the Centennial Street gates, and the first person I saw was none other than a person by the name of Craig Wheeler, lifelong fan, and he was one of those mad 10 at Leichhardt Oval the year before. So. Something about that place with it, you've got a certain disposition sucks you in, and I got sucked in royally. A couple of weeks later, I was helping him serve beers out of what's the Hill Bar now. There was no fridges. There was a couple of bins with ice, and we had VB New and light beer. And there was a real passion from the people involved with the club that was very easy to get attracted to. And again, that particular year, they only won one more game. They were a standalone side. The partnership with the Warriors hadn't continued, and they beat East the first day I bought my first Newtown jersey, or the Roosters. But the results didn't matter.
Yeah.
It felt to me like I used to feel supporting Balmain.
Yeah.
And again, that was 2001.
Yeah.
And 25 years later, I'm still very fortunate to be involved in the club.
Yeah. Just quickly, Jason Bell, is it the Parramatta?
Yeah,
The old half from Parramatta you were talking about? It was, yeah. So he was... He
was with the Warriors.
Oh, that's right. He went to the Warriors.
Yeah,
from
so
Para.
there was Mark Tukey played in that Newtown team that year. Clinton Torpy, I think. Yeah.
Well, we had Cole Murphy on a few weeks ago, and he actually mentioned a lot of these blokes because they were with the Warriors when he was there. So
he was the coach, and Cole, what an absolute legend.
Yeah.
It was a great podcast.
Absolute legend.
Tell us about John Singleton. Obviously, a big figure. Everyone knows John Singleton. What was his impact with you and the club, and what was it like when you first met him?
Look, so I mean, I again, obviously he was a major, he's the patron of the club for a long, long time, but a major influence in the 70s and 80s. I wasn't supporting the club then, but knowing the history now that I do, he came on board and turned the club around. They weren't very successful back into the 80s, but he wanted to turn them into a club that had a winning culture, and ultimately got Tommy on board, and transformed the club. So they went from 3 wooden spoons or thereabouts in the late 70s to 15 minutes away from a premiership in 81. So his influence was enormous, both kind of financially and otherwise. It's just a shame because when stuff went down in 83 and they the Jets and the Magpies got removed for the competition, Johns just was in a position with his business interests where he just wasn't able to kind of bail them out like he would have loved to, and I'm pretty certain that's he still kind of wears that pretty heavily on his sleeve. But no, a fantastic Newtown man. He's still involved as a sponsor in the club, and these days, so he's a sleeve sponsor. But back in 2018, he rang me up and said, "Look, I don't need my name on the jersey. Why don't we kind of put some ex-players on?" So I started with Cole Murphy, and then it was Tommy in 2019 when we won. And each year now, basically we put 2 former Newtown legends on the sleeve of the jerseys, and it's a really good thing for the current players as well, because they're always like, who was this guy, and what was his history with the club? But an enormous part of Newtown's history, and still a great supporter to this day.
There's a real big aura down there, isn't there, at Henson Park? Like, I never really followed them at all until they merged with Cronulla, well, the feeder team to Cronulla, so I started going out there. And some of the I spoke to Cole about this, about some of the reactions them Cronulla players have when they score. Sometimes they react better at Henson Park in front of whoever's there than they do in front of 15,000 at Shark Park.
Oh, look, I think you could maybe say it's an even square.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing relationship. Really. And again, the players have always bought in. And to be fair, we were the Roosters for 9 years prior to 2015 as well, and we had lots of good times with them. But the partnership that we've got with the Sharks has just been incredible, and the proof's in the pudding in terms of the success that both clubs have had, on the field as well. And every year it just keeps getting better and better and better.
Just back to Singo quickly, Stu.
Yep.
Great businessman he is. Is there something he taught you, or any lessons you picked up from him that you've transitioned into like the corporate space?
Him and there's a saying within the club, and it was Chickamore that actually was the one that introduced it. So if it's not good for Newtown, it's not the right decision. And I think it's a really simple thing to say, but across the board and the way we try to handle our affairs, that's always front and centre. Yeah. And Singo's very much like that as well. If it's not the right decision for what I love or what I'm doing, I'm not going to go ahead with it. And he plays a really straight bat with stuff like that. And doesn't tolerate bullshit.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to be.
Hopefully.
What's your memories on some of the greats? Obviously, Rodonicus and Sigsworth, all those great players at Newtown. I know you weren't following the club back in those days.
I've had. It's been great to kind of go back and educate myself on that, and obviously kind of watched all those games again. I mean, I remember watching even as an 11-year-old in '81, that team, because like Newtown had kind of come from nowhere, and they just kept going and going and going, and the semi-final obviously against Manly was just incredible and remembered for obvious reasons in terms of we won the fight and the game of footy. But then the next week they beat the Roosters, who I'm pretty certain were minor premiers that year. So, the way, the stories that I've heard from players involved with that over the years, at functions and whatnot, it was an incredible, group of players that was put together, and, it was, again, so close to winning a competition. But Tommy and Siggy and those guys were always involved with the club through coming to games and whatnot, and coming to functions, and it's been fantastic actually getting to know them on a personal level.
Yeah, we just touched on the involvement with the Sharks. How did that all come about? So you're with the Roosters from... Do you remember the years you were with?
No, absolutely. So funnily enough, 2005 we were with Cronulla.
Yep, and then you went to the Roosters after that.
So, and that they wanted to go a separate way, kind of at the end of that season, and during that season though we did get approached. By the Roosters, and so that the timing was exceptional. And we were with the Roosters up until 2014. Long story in and around how that finished, but it did. So basically, end of 2014, it was, Cronulla and us was like the last two at the dance. So Steve Noyce, funnily enough, was the CEO for a while there, and he'd actually been at the Roosters. So that made that negotiation pretty simple. But then he unfortunately parted ways, pretty much straight away thereafter. And Lyle Gorman came into the fold. But the first year was a really interesting one, because a lot of the guys that played for us that year were pretty much told at the start of the year that they weren't going to be required for 2016. We started the year pretty well, but it was a difficult year to manage that. But then 2016 obviously was a really clearly for the Sharks, won their first premiership, which was absolutely epic. And again, we had a really good year that year. We were one game away from the grand final. Then 2017 was a bit of a come down from that, and there was a lot going on. So we managed to kind of negotiate with Flano one extra year in 2018. And Kyle actually was playing for us that particular year. And it was funny because he went back. It was a really good young team. They'd had a lot of success in Flegg. And I remember it was early on in the season, and he went back to Shane. He said, "Mate, I don't know why you were so dark on Newtown. We love playing here." And it was a few weeks later. I was up at a wedding on the central in Maroochydore. So and we were playing Penrith out at Penrith Park on the Saturday. And at half time there was Flano in a Newtown polo, and I've just gone, here we're in here.
How good you got him.
And 2018 was a fantastic year as well. And then that was at the start of that year, we only had the 1 year deal. And all of a sudden, the planets kind of aligned left, right and centre. We had Melbourne interested. We had the Roosters fall over with Wyong, and they were very, very serious. And then Barry Russell became the general manager, like the CEO, and he'd played for both clubs. And I remember getting a call from him early in 2018 going, "Look, I've got this document on my desk with, the Sharks wanting to go in another direction. Like, how do we fix this?" And we did. And at the end of the day, we always wanted to kind of stay with the Sharkies because of the football side of things. And the Roosters had more money or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was about, outside of the Panthers, like the Sharks junior nursery is the strongest in Sydney. So, that funnel of great young guys coming through. Greg Madison, who was our coach at the time, he was adamant, like, "Stu, get the deal done with the Sharkies." And we did. And, it's 226 now, and we're kind of already talking about an extension to the partnership.
Where are you signed to with them at the moment?
This year's the last year.
This year,
but, again, there's
confident it'll go further?
I'd like to think
beautiful.
Things are looking pretty solid for the future. Again, they're great people to deal with, and we've got a really good relationship, and there's a lot of other stuff that we can look to be doing together moving forward. Now,
talking about Newtown legends, there's a man that he cycles his penny farthing around there. His name is John Trad. What can you tell us about Traddy, and how important is he to the club, and how long's this been going on for? Because Cole said he was doing that when he was playing.
Oh, it's a really long story. So Traddy has been around the club since early 2000, maybe even late 90s.
Yep.
He first got a gig, or wanted to get a gig as you're filming the games.
Yep. Okay.
And he said to Cole, he said, like I'll have a crack at kind of doing some video, and the club didn't have anything like that, so Merv was like, yeah, have a go. And anyway, he did this one game, and when he thought the camera was on, it was off, and vice versa. So he went and showed that, he gave Cole the tape, and Cole had a look at it, and it was like complete rubbish. He went back to his house, chucked the video at him, and said, right, you can get stuffed. And so anyway, Traddy persisted, and he actually got quite good at filming the game. So he was doing that for quite some time. But then his camera broke, and all of a sudden he's like, well, what am I going to do now? And he had the penny farthing, and so he thought, you know what, they scored a try, I might just ride the bike around the oval, because again, Henson Park was actually the velodrome at the 1938 Empire Games, so there's a bike track there, and it kind of just took on a life of its own. So he's been doing that every time we score a try since about 2010. How important is Traddy to the club? He's irreplaceable. He's sometimes high maintenance, but there's so much more depth to who he is and what he does for the club. Like he's my 2IC in terms of getting stuff done behind the scenes. Like he was there at Henson Park all day today. Helping out. So he's a lovable rogue who we're very blessed to have, because again the personality that he brings to the game day experience. Other people other clubs have tried to imitate it, but there's no chance.
It's important when you're like a small community club like Newtown to have personalities and people that create the culture.
That's and I mean, again, you only have to see him like on game days, and the kids running him after him and stuff, and it's it's a real novelty, but it's really unique as well, and it comes from he's absolute mad Newtown supporter. And again, we're lucky, very fortunate that again kind of madness does gravitate to the club, but in a good way. So he helps out with footy. Obviously he's pretty good with his social media these days as well. So he's got a lot going on, Traddy, and we love it.
Good stuff.
That's good. Talk to us about Henson Park. The updates that have happened or happening to Henson?
So I'm still scratching myself, to be honest. If you knew what the ground was, I mean, it's always had a charm, like an old world charm, and that's what a lot of our supporters, kind of pick up on, and a lot of rugby league supporters. Like, you come back to Henson Park, and it's a throwback to the game we loved growing up. But this latest upgrade in terms of football facilities takes it into a new stratosphere. To be honest, like the dressing rooms we've got now, the media building, the facilities are second to none from a footballing point of view. Obviously lends itself to female sport as well, which is great. That's certainly a space that we want to expand into in the near to distant future. And obviously a lot of the funding came from the AFL, because they wanted a home ground for the Swans girls, who actually draw the biggest crowds in that competition. So the official opening of Stage 1 and Stage 2 is part of Sunday's extravaganza. So it's been 18 months of some pain dealing with no grandstand and reduced reduced facilities, but we were always going to come out in a really good spot, and that's how it ended. That's how it's ended as well. So I scratch myself every time I go to work. Now.
So is it complete?
The grandstand's complete. Stage 2, which is the media building, that'll be ready and open on Sunday. There's work still going on on the scoreboard building, which is a separate project, but again, that'll be ready for hopefully our first competition home game in April. So we won't know ourselves, but it's great. And obviously, fantastic amenities for the supporters and our crowd as well.
It's what rugby league's about, really, isn't it? Suburban footy, grassroots, looking after the fans must love going there.
Yeah, they do. And there's stuff we can get away with at New South Wales Cup level. Again, it's kind of a little bit passé now. Everyone running onto the field at full time, but like we've been doing it since 2002.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, it's
It's even half-time, isn't it?
half time. Yeah, there's a blow the siren to get them off. Yeah, that sometimes kind of takes a little bit longer than we'd like, but we've never had any issues with it, and the supporters love it and the kids love it.
Yeah. Now, we're going to touch on the premierships, but there's one thing I wanted to touch on before that. In 2018, at the Brad Fittler Medal, you were awarded the Ray Stella Clubman of the Year. That must have been some kind of thrill.
It was. Yeah, no, it was. It's, again, I'm very fortunate to be in a position to work doing something I love and I'm passionate about. So to be acknowledged on that night was really nice. And a very big shock. And again, Aaron Mullen was presenting that night, and it was funny watching the interview because I was like this. But no, it was it was nice. Yeah, it was nice to be recognised, but not what you do things for. But,
no, of course not. Yeah,
it was a good night. Shame we didn't go on and win the comp that year because we had the team to do so. But no, it was a good night.
Yeah, well, fast forward a year, and that all changed.
It did.
So the first premiership that we'll talk about is 2019. Now, off the top of my head, I'm thinking Blake Brayley's in the side. I'm thinking Cole Flanagan's the halfback.
No, interesting one, that one. We actually won the comp in 212 as well.
Yep.
So that was fantastic. But okay, so fast forward. 218, we had Flano.
Yep.
We also had Blake Brayley as well.
Yep.
Britt Nakora, never saw him again.
Yep.
His line running, you just knew.
Yeah.
So actually in 2019, Blake was up in first grade. He only played 2 games for us all year.
Yeah.
But there is the planets align when you win the comp. And so we got Toby Rudolph came in with 7 weeks to go. Ended up we'd never lost a game with him in the side. And he was always going to come back from that injury fired up.
Yeah.
First time we saw him, we're just like, look at this bloke.
Yeah.
And then, so Blake Brayley played. You guys, had... There's one extra game. He got to play the first final.
Okay, yeah.
And then because he then played the second final, that qualified him to play for the rest of the final series.
Yeah.
So again, he only played 2 games all year.
Yeah.
But then we've got him, like, again, the team that we had. You have a look at that team.
Yeah.
And you have a look at, and it's so rewarding for all Jets supporters seeing all those boys doing so well for the Sharkies.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of look at that team now and go, well, yeah, thank God we did win the comp because it was a cracking side, like Ronnie and Sione on the wing. He was scoring those tries all year. And then you got Blakey back. So we had Tricky in the halves.
Yep.
And he'd come on the back of that. I think you guys won the flag in 218 from memory.
Yep.
Like he plays in teams that win competitions.
Yeah.
So I still think the way is up for the Sharkies in the NRL as well. And it was just a cracking team, and
we didn't even talk about the match winner.
You'll never see that again.
Never.
Like it's just crazy to think about. Obviously in the Cup Grand Final, it went into extra time. It wasn't Golden Point.
Yep.
And redemption for it's funny when you see the match-winning try with Will Kennedy. The first guy that jumps on his back was Matt Evans. Yeah. And again, which was great to see. Yeah, because 218 was a difficult game, but Billy Magoulias, the boot that set the try up. And Tyron Phillips inside to Will. And then they had an opportunity on our line right at the end.
Yeah.
We defended. It was 7 versus 8 as well. And funnily enough, in 2012 it was 7 versus 8. So that's at this level of footy, where you finish in the 8 doesn't matter because again it's what who do you get back from the NRL and how so absolutely ripping run into the finals, and then the following week. We had 6 players out from the week before, to be honest, and Burley came to play, and 13 seconds to go, surely not. And I think it was Dave Howlett was in the coach's box. Yeah. And Billy's done it again, and into Jackson Ferris, right angles, bang, and
it was ridiculous, wasn't it?
And Dave Howlett's just going, "You blokes, are you kidding?" which was kind of funny. It's like, no, we're not, mate. And yeah, there's so many photos from that moment where there's one like from in front of where Jacko caught the ball, and you see Blake Brayley and George Nadira was the assistant coach then, and Greg Eastwood, and just the looks on their face.
Yeah.
T. Wilton.
Yeah.
And that, God, that was a party that night.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So,
And then, so we fast forward, 5 years
Yep.
to the next one, 2024.
Yep.
And you win the premiership again.
Yeah. Incredible. Like, really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because again, you actually same deal. You look back at that side, and there's guys that are regular first graders now that at the time, but they played really tough football. To get where they were that year.
Yeah.
And it was a cracking game at that grand final against the Bears. We were outnumbered, in the crowd, but we managed just to keep the crowd out of the game, out of the game, and it was really to win comps is a big thing, and it was a big thing again, and it's just a shame we kind of let ourselves down the following week, unfortunately, in the state championship game. But
it must be hard from though backing up for that state.
It is.
Yeah, it must be hard.
It is, but it's all about preparation as well. To be honest, but anyway, can't complain.
Exactly.
Just touching on that state championship, where does that within the club? Is it like, obviously you want to win it, but is it a bit of a novelty, or it's hard to, as just said, I'm sure it's hard for the boys to stay up after they've just won the New South Wales Cup. Do they go in a bit like lackadaisy a bit, thinking that we can just take care of the Queensland Cup boys?
I think there might have been in 2019. No, I mean, again, like Matto had, there was just a different preparation in 2019, and that was just the way things unfolded. I mean, it was Cronulla, the NRL Mad Monday, in 2024, and again, the guys they're well behaved, but you can't tell our boys that kind of were part of that not to enjoy themselves, to be honest. So, it's. The boys want to win the New South Wales Cup first and foremost, but having won one and then having lost one, it's like it's icing on the cake.
Yeah,
but the cake does taste better with the icing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Would you like to see? Because I know as a fan, I prefer it when the New South Wales Cup game is on grand final day. It feels like a better competition between the two teams, a bit closer. Seen recently, the New South Wales Cup team just seemed to blow the Queensland team off the park. No disrespect to the Queensland competition, but from your standpoint, would you like to see it go back to that, or do you like having it the week before? I
understand both sides of the equation. It was great to be playing the Cup grand finals. And, we were in a couple. We lost a couple and won a couple on that day. Yeah, absolutely. But then I understand what the NRL have tried to do. With the state championship, and I think it's got a lot of merit. In it, because again, it gives the Queensland and the New South Wales Cup side something, on grand final day. Obviously, with the explosion of the NRLW and the profile and that, the girls, are playing that main curtain raiser as well, so that's something else to factor in. I know the results have been a bit one-sided in recent years, but I'm a fan of the game.
Yeah.
Because again, it gives that little bit more relevance to both those comp. Like we do hear murmurings about a national reserve grade, which I think isn't necessarily when you've got two. The Queensland Cup's a great competition, and again, the BRL was the second oldest rugby league competition in one of in the world, and a very strong competition. And again, those clubs have a lot of history, and New South Wales Cup gives the likes of North Sydney and us a chance to still play at a competitive level of footy, as long as we're doing the right thing and providing something that NRL clubs and we're lucky in the instance of the Sharks find beneficial and a value add to what they do. So long answer to I'm a fan of both.
Yeah. That's one thing I do like about the New South Wales Cup. Is obviously recent years less and less of your Jets and your Bears and your Wyong Roos, they've come back because Roosters have got their own side and Penrith have got their own side. But I remember when I was a bit younger, you'd had Mounties, you'd have
Windsor Wolves.
Yeah, Windsor Wolves. I thought that's cool. That's how I grew up on it, and that's how I liked it. I know probably your blokes your age like to see the NRL sides
that
have
old.
their reserve grade sides. But that when
look,
I
it's-
grew up, that's what I liked about New South Wales Cup. You saw different sides, different jerseys. I
Yeah,
thought that was
there's
that was
swings and
mad.
roundabouts. I know there's like basically it's gone back to most of the clubs,
Yeah.
wanting their own. But again, when we go to 22, it could all change in a heartbeat
Of
again.
course, yeah.
So I don't think there's anything hard and fast. We love being able to kind of play against those big names.
Yeah.
But again, it was like you said, it was in days when there were a lot of other feeder clubs as well. That was great also.
Yeah.
It's always been a really good standard comp. Even going back to when the NYC was brought in 2008, and people thought that was going to be the reserve grade to NRL. Like anyone that knows footy knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was just perception that was really holding New South Wales Cup back. It's always been reserve grade.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
Mm.
How's 2026 looking with the side? Any young blokes coming
Yeah,
through
we've got a
that you
younger
like?
squad, like a bigger turnover of players this year compared to the previous couple of years. I mean, every team at this stage of the year is looking fantastic, absolutely, because there's not been a ball kicked in anger. But no, they've trained really. The boys have trained really, really well. Again, there's some young names that are really putting their kind of stamp on the pre-season and are ready to kind of make an impact when they pull on the jersey. We've got a couple of young guys that played Queensland 19s a couple of years ago. Hayden Lemon and Cathane Hill, they look really, really good. And again, quite a few of our boys have had a decent pre-season full-time with the Sharks, which is great.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a good run with injuries. Your NRL clubs, the team's got to have a good run with injuries. But there's enough football across this club to do well.
Yeah,
I saw the Cronulla side name today, and someone that's on everyone's lips is Liam Myson. How's he looking? Like he's probably going to spend a little bit of time early in the season.
I'd love to say yes.
Yeah.
How's Liam looking? Liam's a legend.
Yeah.
He is such an excitement machine. Like
Yeah.
he burst onto from kind of nowhere in 2024, even though everyone had tabs on him. But the football, and again, he's not the biggest player. He's built up a bit.
Yeah.
But punches above his weight. Very difficult to tackle, actually, and just speed machine. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
Especially because that Penrith game was a really tough game of footy to start with, and just when it was a real sour note, like everyone's heads just went. Oh.
Did it against his former club as well.
Yeah, so he kept his head up. He's trained the house down, and he's ready to go. And this could be a massive year.
Yeah,
for him, and I just hope he stays.
Well, the small fullbacks probably back in the game a little bit.
Absolutely.
You've got your Keanu Kinneys, your Troy Fullers, and they're really the little fullback. There's a place for him for sure.
Yeah,
so,
1,000,000%, especially when they got speed to burn like that.
Exactly.
And he's got football now.
What I've seen him too, very brave.
Yeah,
like very brave, and you've got to be.
Yeah.
You have to be like playing that.
But he's tough. Like don't he's baby faced and all that jazz. But no, he can handle the heavy stuff. And like you said, you've got to be able to. There's no place to hide in a footy field list of all these days.
Exactly. Just changing subjects quickly. Late, I think it was. When did the Perth decision come in? When the North Sydney, was that last year? Last year. There was talk about the Perth and Newtown thing. Can you give us anything on what happened and went down with that? Or you don't want to?
No. Look, we said off air you could. That's probably a whole another podcast in itself. Look, we never went out of our way to kind of jump into that kind of spotlight. Again, we know, like we're about representing our local community in a fantastic partnership with the Sharks. It's all good news. But the phone has rung a few times. It rang a few years earlier, back when the Brisbane Jets were going for the Dolphins license, and we were approached by the WA team. And it was like, okay, well, we'll go and meet with them and hear what they've got to say. And things progressed along the way. And again, we weren't chasing this. It's not something we've ever really talked about, but like it's something we had to explore.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it got down to the wire, and the WA team wanted to go in a certain direction. But there were certain things that we were adamant about that we need for us to go into that space. So you needed to have equity in the game.
Yep.
And when that became apparent that wasn't the case, that's when we talked about Singo earlier. Singo, rang up and said, look, you're just playing games with us. But, to be honest, the Bears were always going to be the team that ended up there. And, it's great for, it was interesting to be a part of it because we were at the coalface to a point. But, I hope it works. Yeah. It's going to be a tough gig. Yeah. It's going to be a tough gig.
Yeah,
but
Jack believes it's going to be very tough.
Yeah. I actually went to school across the road from North Sydney Oval, and again, I have a lot of my mates that are still Bears supporters, so it's great for them to kind of have their team to support.
Yeah.
I hope things work out.
Yeah, very good. Now, I've got no idea how you make time to be the general manager of Undercover Music. I know nothing about music. Jack knows very little. Zach, our producer, actually knows a little bit. But what can you tell us about your role at Undercover Music?
Oh, look, I was a full-time muso in the 90s. Okay. So, again, music and sport, very blessed to kind of still work in both. And then got married and had to get a decent job and got seconded to go and, kind of set this company up. Yeah. And it was April Fool's Day 2001. And, thankfully it hasn't been an April Fool's joke. But 25 years later, we're still kind of keeping our head above water, which in the music industry there's been a quantum shift in the way music's consumed in those 2 decades. So it's been an interesting ride. But then that was the same year, started at the Jets. So it's funny, like everyone, it sounds a bit weird, but there's a lot of similarities between musicians and football players. Yeah. In terms of they can be high maintenance at times, so there's a fair bit of crossover. But it's something I love and am passionate about. And again, we've kept our head above water for 25 years, which is no small feat.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's get on to the big fish, Sunday.
Yes.
This massive day at Henson. I've been plugging it on here, as everyone knows, for the last probably 2 months now. How's it all looking? And what's on the agenda for the day?
So when we first had the idea floated that we might be able to host an NRL trial, because we've now got the facilities to do so, it was like, okay, spoke to, gave Matt, our partners in Beer Footy Food, what do you think? Let's have a crack at this. And so we said, and, spoke to the Sharkies boys and they were, let's do it. So, so it's the Summer Beer Footy Food Festival. Anybody that knows anything about beer footy food, like it's the biggest day at Henson Park, of the year. So we have, there's going to be 15 local brewers, 15 food trucks that, we kind of park across the hill. It's slightly smaller than normal, but again, there's 5 games of footy starting at 10:30. All the Sharks junior reps into flag, into Newtown Cup, and into the NRL. So, lots of football and lots of hopefully great vibes off the field. So the footy kicks off at 10:30, but gates for the event open at midday. It's also the official opening of the ground, so that's something special in itself. But to have NRL back at the venue for the first time in 36 years is amazing as well.
Is the objection is to get an NRL game there at one point?
I'd like to think that this might grow legs of its own and be something that we could do on an annual event. I mean, it's early doors. Yep. We'd love to host an NRL game at some point in the future. Whether that's a game or whether it's just a trial each year. Yep. But the fact that we've even gotten to this stage is a great thrill for the club, and also another sign of the partnership with the Sharkies, that they're willing to kind of go down this path with us. So, looking forward to a great day. Bit of rain forecast in the morning, but that'll go away. And, it should be another cracking day.
Yeah, and how's best place to get tickets?
So online at Oztix, if you just Google Summer Beer Footy Food Festival, the link comes up pretty quickly. They're a little bit cheaper online than on the door. It's $30 on the door, but you can buy tickets on the day. Yep. But we'd encourage everyone to get in and get them. That'll just mean you get in faster. Yep. As well.
You got anything on for the day?
No, I just think it's mad that there's going to be like a TV game at Henson Park.
Mad means good, doesn't it?
Yeah, that means good. I just think how good.
Yeah, hopefully that hill will be packed and it'll look terrific on TV and it'll be a good advertisement, for the game, like kicking off for the new year.
Yeah, so very good. All right, Stu, that's about it, I think. Look, I really want to thank you for coming on. We've been spruiking the day for you for the
No,
last couple
thank
of
you.
months. We're going to be out there, as we've talked about. We're going to be doing some little clips and stuff from the front entrance. Is that the Sydenham Road entrance?
Sydenham Road.
Yep, Sydenham Road entrance. So, guys, make sure you come and see us.
Be sure to go and see the boys.
Yeah,
and get
we'll
your
be out the
face on
front.
TV.
We'll be out the front there doing videos. So if you want to get your face on the pod, come down and see us. But again, Stu, really want to thank you for coming on, mate. And I hope Sunday's a blast. And good luck with everything in the future, mate.
No, thanks for having us and keep up the great work. I really enjoy what you guys are doing and your support of the club's been terrific. So, again, hopefully see everyone at Henson Park, the Jewel in the crown of Rugby League grounds on Sunday.
Exactly. Fantastic. Thanks, guys.